Well, good morning. We are going to do a little morning flight from LA to Vegas, American 769. I'm going to go ahead and do all the things that I wanted to set up. I was going to use Vatsim. First thing I started looking at was who's controlling areas on Vatsim. And you can see here's Denver, here's Vegas, here's Burbank. There's no controllers right now. If I scroll out on the SPY, you can see that, okay, the only people working in America today, we got a tower and a clearance or something over there. It's kind of a quiet day on Vatsim. European, there's a couple different grounds, a couple controllers, but it's still early. Everybody's sleeping. They probably flew all night. So Vatsim's going to be pretty quiet, so I'll just close this out. This is VatSpy. I'm going to go ahead and click ready to fly. We'll get on board. Might help if I turn my video on. We'll get that going if it's not already. Alright, ready to fly. Once again, cold, dark cockpit. Can't really do much of anything until we turn some power on, so we'll go ahead and put some batteries on. We'll hit our power, and we'll also find our dome lights. So we have a little light. That's to begin with. Alright, so things are going to start powering up here. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other tools. Here's Vpilot. So we are connected with the Vpilot system. And the next thing we want to do is go ahead and open up Simbrief and get a flight plan set up and going. So here is our Simbrief, and I've already pulled up a flight, one I'd already done, but American Airlines. Here's our flight number, departing from LA to Vegas. Got through an alternate end, who knows. We've got our aircraft. We'll use our saved aircraft, custom profile setup. All that looks pretty good. One thing I did notice, it puts that Orca 3 in here, and that's from an old routing version I did download and set up my Navigraph Charts, so that should be pulling current stuff, but we'll use this suggested route with the Orca 5, Mizzen KPEX 6. That looks pretty good. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and generate the OFP. That will get the flight plan in the system for Simbrief and make it available to us when we pull it up in our cockpit on the FMS and things. Alright, so now we've got the OFP summary, a lot of good information in here. You've got some routings, you've got the entire OFP here, which is our flight plan. If you've ever looked through one of these, you've got all your waypoints, all your file to flight plan, your waypoints, some planning information. You've got a lot of weather as well, weather METARs, TAFs, and then it goes into a whole bunch of NOTAMs and everything. So we've looked through all that, assume that's all good. I'm just going to pull that out of the way. And Vpilot is connected and set up. I'll pull that out of the way as well. So at this point, probably need to get things connected on the ground. We'll just ask for a jet bridge, some catering, some baggage service, some fuel supply. We don't even know how much yet, but we'll get things requested. And looking outside, alright, good. Everybody's moving. Look at that. Got the jet bridge, baggage, catering. Looking good so far. So let's come back inside. We'll start going through setting up some of the cockpit items. We're going to go ahead and spin up some IRUs. we'll go ahead and just do some of these captain items here. I'm flying as the FO. We're going to go ahead and crank up our APU as well. We'll turn on some nav and logo lights. That's good. We'll turn our emergency lights on. And our no smoking switch. How about that? Looks like a good start. We're still on external power. APU should be coming up. And in this build, it's nice, the actual APU page opens up as you start it. So you can watch the APU spin up and come online. IRUs are aligning up there. That's good. Let's see here. We got a couple other just basic cockpit things we need to get accomplished here. And one is to turn up some lighting. I'm just going to crank these up. Same thing on the captain side, so if we're looking across, we can actually see things. We'll turn up some other lights. Turn up our ECAM lights. I don't want to get totally to dark, but we'll turn up our integrated lights. There's light switches under here. I don't know if they work. Oh, they do. Okay. Nice. Should be one more. Let's see if I can get to it. There it is. A little dark to even find that one. And we'll turn up this overhead integrated lights so we can see. Alright. We've got everything nice and bright. Let's kind of test this with the dome light off. Alright, good. We can see everything up there. We can see everything down here. See everything on our panel. Excellent. Alrighty. Today. Well, if you're brand new to my stream, welcome. I am an Airbus 320 FO, so hopefully we won't crash, but just learning flight sim, learning all the different tools. We're doing Vatsim as well as using our Navigraph charts. But as I said earlier, Vatsim is kind of offline for North America for the most part. But we're going to go from LA to Vegas. Why not? Alright, so let's get back to the cockpit. We've got all of our lighting set up. We've got our APU is up and running. Since the APU is up and running, I'm just going to disconnect external power now so we don't forget it later. Alright, so take a look at a couple things. We adjusted our lights, got our clocks set. Going to go ahead and start doing some FMS data here. First thing I'm going to do to get the Simbrief stuff set up correctly is I'm going to go ahead and go into McDo, and we'll select ATSU, AOC menu, init press, and we'll hit data request. Okay, so that's good. That pulled in our Simbrief flight plan. The only thing you have to make sure you have is your Simbrief username in the options. I'll show you where that is real quick here. So back, if you hit McDo menu button, this options button, and it'll take you to this menu. You just simply hit AOC, and then there's a menu item for Simbrief. This is, I just downloaded the most current fly-by-wire Airbus 320X versions. So this was here. Here's the spot where you put in your username, nickname, And from what I understand, you use one or the other. So some people have some special characters in their username that it wasn't working in this one, but that's what I understand. But I just put in my username in there. And then the Simbrief flight plans will pop back in, or pop in when you do the init button on there. That's really bringing it into the ACAR side. So we'll kind of go with the flow now. So we'll look at our data, we'll look at our aircraft, check our database, make sure that looks good. I'm not going to bother with the change or performance codes here. We'll go to our init page. Here's where we're going to go ahead and hit init request and let that go ahead and pull in. This is now pulling in on the init request, so this is bringing that Simbrief information over into the FS side, FMGC side. Clear out these messages. Put a cost index in here, 35. So it's got our alternate, it's got our flight number, it's got our LA to Vegas. We'll just assume that it's nice high troposphere, and 350 might be a little high, but we'll go with it. Why not? You might get there and get there immediately and go right back down. Alright, so now what we'll do is we're going to come over to our ACARS system and we're going to get some weather via the ATIS. We'll get some departure for Los Angeles. Send that off. We'll also get some arrival for Las Vegas. It's only an hour flight, so I'm really just going to get the ATIS and see what's going on there. Alright, so we sent some weather requests. Let's see if there's anything else. We normally have a couple other items that we need to do in here. For fit for duty, things like that, but we'll look at the performance page here, and what this is brought in is from our Simbrief as well. So it looks like our block fuel is 13.3, and if you look at the plane itself, it's got 20.8 on board, but that was before we loaded everything. So what we can do is correct that simply by pressing that reload fuel button. Boom, now we've got 13.2. as per our performance here. There's also a page 2, which is going to be important for us. I'm actually just going to write that down. It's a 128.6. This is our zero fuel weight, NCG. 128.6 and 30.0. 166 passengers. We've got some baggage in the forward and rear, so that looks good. So there's our performance weight and balance page on that. Let's go back and see. We now see a company message up here on the upper ECAM display. So that tells me to go into the McDo menu, go to the AOC menu, and go into received messages. And we'll see we've got some ATIS information. There's our LAX. I'm going to hit print. I always do this 3022. I'll set it now. I just hit the B button, but let's just set that correctly as per the ATIS. We'll take a look here. 220 at 4, 10 miles of visibility. Few at 1,000. That's 11 degrees. Nice morning out here in LA. Instrument approaches, runway 24 right, 25 left. So they're landing to the west. There's all the information. Alright. So when I printed that, it printed on the paper down here, which is handy. If I hit collect paper, puts it right there in the middle. Very handy. I'm not sure what happens on the second one. I haven't done this before, so let me hit print on the... Oops. Let me hit print on our Las Vegas data. there's our Las Vegas. So that put it on top. There we go. Previous page. Next page. Ah, very nice. So we can keep our, we've got our weather, both our weather messages got back. That's good. Now we're going to work over our flight plan a little bit. Just from our filed Simbrief flight plan, we know it was the, actually I'll pull this down here, that was the Orca 5 Mizzen Capex 6. So on Vpilot, I'm just going to update that, and I'm going to go ahead and file it on Vpilot as well. And I had 27 in here. We'll put 35. Why not? Probably won't get there. So I'll go ahead and file that flight plan, and we'll see if it works. Make sure, just pull Vatsim down here. So Vatsim, we are connected to the network. Come back over here to flight plan. We'll file it. So now we get a flight plan filed. Alright, so that's on the network. And now let's get to our box here. So next thing we want to look at is where we're taking off from. So in the ATIS, approaches 24 right, 25 left. So we are on the south side. We are probably going to take off 25 right. Let's just double check on the ATIS that there's not more information for. Sometimes places will put two separate ATISes, one for arrival, one for departure. So we do have LAX arrival. And it may just be a single ATIS. I don't remember if I had departure selected or arrival selected, so I'll just request it again. Come back here. One thing I did find is that when you request again something on the ACARS, typically you can go sit on the received messages page and wait. Once it pops up here on the company message, it pops up in here, but on the sim you have to actually leave this page and come back to it once you see the company message. So we will look at our top message and see if there's anything else. Just moving other controls here. Alright, so that is information Romeo, same as what we had. Departures in progress 24, 25. So all that's good. So no separate ATISes, just one big ATIS. That's fine. All right. So back to our flight plan. Here is Navigraph Charts, which are very handy and useful if you're going to fly, if you're going to try to actually do something that simulates something real. The only way you're going to do it is with the actual charts. So here's the airport at Vegas. We are right here, if you can see this mouse, at Terminal 4 on the end of it. Here are the 25s runways, or the south runways, 24s are the north, 25 left and 25 right. We're going to depart off the inside runway, which is the 25 right. So while I'm here, I'll show the Orca 5 departure, which I've got set up in here. And Orca 5 looks like off the south runways. You can see the actual routing here for runway 25 right, heading 251, 6 to 640. Climbed across Docker at or below 3000, then on heading, or as assigned. Kepler above 10, then on track, and we've got a couple other altitude restrictions as we head on out, and we are going to Mizzen here. So we'll make sure we load this departure. So runway, 25 right, Orca 5 departure to mizzen. Let's load that in here. So we'll come back to the box, click on LAX, click on departure, scroll till we see our 25 right. 25 right is in there as our runway. Now we're selecting the SID, and there's the Orca 5. And over on the right side, we're going to select the transition, which is the mizzen. So 25 right, Orca 5 mizzen, and we'll hit insert. And at this point, we should be able to look at both our, come back over to this side, make it a little easier. We'll kind of review this flight plan that's in here. So we'll go over to plan mode, we'll make sure we're down in the lowest range possible. If we hit flight plan, it takes us to the top of our flight plan. And we can then see we are on 25 right, and the Orca departure has our first climb out up to 640 feet. It's got Docker in there. Docker should have a restriction of 3,000 feet. And it does. The other thing is I want to press constraints up here so that it shows our constraints on the MFDs here. Alright, so now, alright, Docker 3,000. Kepler 10,000. So we've got our constraints in there. So we'll click through. As you click through in the plan mode, it goes waypoint by waypoint. 640. And it's coming back to Kepler, to Kegs, to Copal, and some of these are not exactly the same restrictions that I see on the chart, but we're going to be close enough. That's fine. And then it goes mizzen. And then right now we're going direct into Vegas. Probably not going to go direct into Vegas. Probably going to do something different. Let's go take a look at our ATIS, see what that was. LAX. Alright. Visual approach is in use, landing runways 26 left. So I'm going to pull up the chart just to take a quick look. Here's Vegas. It's a short trip. I would do this stuff probably in advance on an hour flight. If it's much longer, I'm just going to get most of that in the air. But we'll look at the ATIS now. 26 left. We'll park somewhere over here, so this is fun. We'll plan that, and nothing else too interesting there. So we will click on LAX. We're going to click on arrivals. We're going to go to 26 left, as we said. And on our flight plan, we filed the KPEC. Right past it. KPEC 6. And do we want a VIA or anything? Perino. Perino takes us right into IF or an ILS to 26 left. This is all good. Say no via. We will say it's a mizzen transition. I mean, we may need to do that again here. Let's do 26 left. KPEC 6. That's fine. Alright, let's take a look at that. 26 left. 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 So we put that in. Let's go back to flight plan, and as I did before, look at this side. I'll sit here and scroll up. You can see we've got our flight plan going to mizzen, and now we start to see from mizzen we've got Claire, we've got Skeever, KPEC, Ipuni, Nipzo, Sunst, Boulder, Kissimmee. This doesn't look really right here. It looks like it should go out to Chips, but what the heck, it makes a left turn, comes back into Poker. Here was the arrival itself, and most likely somewhere out here we would get vectored towards final approach anyway. We wouldn't fly all the way out there unless it was real busy. Alright, so good enough. Alright, so we got our flight plan that's in there. We'd probably go update things like winds, all that good stuff, which normally would be on the right side. Revision. I'd load it up from our ACAR system. I'm not typing in any winds today, but that's where I would get that from. I would also probably go take a look at, if I press the airport button, that usually takes me to the bottom, but it doesn't look like it does it. I'd probably go look and make sure that I had our routing to our alternate in, which that's interesting, that doesn't even show that in here at all. But that's okay, we're not going to need it. Alright, I could tune up some individual VORs if I wanted them for the departure to stay up in here in my VOR section, show me either DME, radials. The other thing I could put in here would be some fix info, which would normally be right up here as a button. It's kind of there, but it's grayed out. This would give me a place I could put in some circles or radials to display if I had something strange on the departure or crossing fixes I wanted to just be aware of. Alright, let's go over to the init B page. Remember we did the init A earlier. Here's where I need that number I wrote down, so I've got 128.630 for our zero fuel. So 128.6 and 30 is going to go in there. I believe we said we had a block of 13.1 on our fuel. So we'll put that in there. Let it calculate, see where it's at. So we got an extra 4.5 on board, that's fine. And that should make our fuel prediction page look right. So I come here, I can see one other number that I'm going to write down is going to be our gross weight, because that's going to be our takeoff weight. Right now is 124.0 and 21.9 is our CG. We're going to need that to get some takeoff data. Alright, so we looked at our init page, our init B page, we finished all that, I believe. That looks good. We would check this alternate with our flight plan to make sure that's enough gas, probably. This is really just going back to California. Let's see. We go down to our performance page. At this point, we may as well go ahead and get our takeoff data set up. So one thing you will also need to do when you want to get takeoff data is you got to calculate it. So I've got a tool that I was using, I found online, is a takeoff performance calculator. Pretty simple. Go ahead and select a couple things. Select our takeoff location. You can click METAR here, and that'll actually pull in the current weather, winds and temperature. Select whether you want flaps 1, PAX, anti-ice, all that good stuff looks set. Here's where I need that takeoff weight, so I'm glad I wrote that down. which is 124.0 and 21.9. So I can see that gave me a stab trim setting. And now I select my runway. We said we're taking off 25 right. So I'll select 25 right, and I will hit calculate, and boom, there we go. We've got 147, 147, 150, and 1.4 up. So that's what we need in our takeoff data. 147, 147, 150, and 1.4 up. You can write it down, screenshot it, do whatever you want, but we'll just come back to it. So we'll click back over to the sim. And what I usually do is top to bottom on the left side and then the right side, but it's going to clear it out if I do that. So what I think I need to do first is put our trim flaps 1 and 1.4 up. There. Oh, and I didn't write down the flex temp. Let's see, flex temp was 68. 68 and 147. 147. 150. Alright, so there's our takeoff data is now in there. On the perf page, we could also put in any kind of climb information if we wanted a selected speed, if there was an altitude or a airspeed restriction on the departure. Taking a look at the departure, I don't think there was. Nothing in there. And then I'd probably go ahead and load my secondary and save the active, set up some sort of emergency return, all that good stuff. Alrighty, so I think we've got the box all set. So with that set up, let's take a look at where we are at. Everything's programmed, everything's spun up. This is going to come back to our arc. Make sure everything up here is on. It's all on. We'd get our clearance now. Since Vatsim's not really running, I'm not going to be able to call anyone for clearance. We'll just kind of give ourselves a clearance up to, let's just say they say climb unrestricted to 230. Put 230 in our altitude, and then the rest that's filed. We'd get a squawk as well when we get that clearance. Let's just say our squawk is, for right now, we're just going to put 2,000 basic. But the clearance delivery would give you that, so you know. Alright, everything is ready to go. Probably be checking in the back with the passengers, see how they're doing. Looks like our fuel cart catering service is done. Let's say we're all loaded. We'll go ahead and ask the jet bridge to pull away. So cool looking. Give a little angle here. One neat thing with the head tracking is it also works in the external camera view, so you can kind of look around. It gets a little funky with the tilts, but it's pretty cool. Alright, so back in the cockpit. And I notice my head is a little off center, so I'm going to actually stop it, restart it. And occasionally I've had to do that where It's not centered exactly after a little while. Not very often, but mainly when you switch between views and freezing it and unfreezing it. Alright, so we got our jet bridges away, we got our clearance, we're climbing up to 2300 or 23,000, flight level 230. We've got, we can probably tune up our ground, and we can get some of that information straight from our taxi diagram. We'll take a look at that and kind of review our way out from where we're at, what we expect. So here's our ground frequencies. We're gonna just use 121.4, and I think that was in the ATIS as well. And then tower is 133.9. So if we look here, let's go back and look at that. There's LAX. It says tower frequencies. Let's see, tower frequency for all runways is 120.95. Clearance and ground is 121.75. So always look there, because what's in your chart is just kind of in general. So let's look at VHF1. We'll put in our ground, 121.75. And these are just harder to use in the sim than what they really need to be. 121.75 is our ground. Our tower is, as it said, 120.95. And in all realistic ways, at a big airport like this, you probably have a ramp frequency that you're going to talk to first to get pushed back, because the ramp frequency, which are more company or they're airfield specific, also company specific areas on the ramp that control their traffic in between their gates and in their area before you get handed off to ground. But we would just use ground here. So we've got ground and tower set up. Alright, we'll go back up here. At this point, I'm going to flip our beacon on. It's going to tell our ground guys that we are ready to taxi. Now I'm going to come back to here and kind of get set back up for being pushed back. So at this point we call ground, and we'll say ground American 769, gate 43, push. I'm not sure if we're at 43, but yeah, ground come back, tell us to push back, clear to push back, tail north, tail south, tail west, whatever they want to tell us. We're going to follow their directions. Right now we're just going to come back here to, I don't know if I do this really right, but I need to go ground services. There we go. That's... There we go. Yeah, we'll request our pushback. Oof. Almost couldn't find our pushback. Leave that there. So we'll start watching. And if you're just joining us, we are now pushing back here at LAX. Looking to go from LAX to Vegas, and Just testing things out again. By all means, probably making mistakes left and right, but we're going to take a look and see where we're going to go. Alright, so nice thing on the chart is you can enable this moving map display. You can see that we are right here at Terminal 4. We're going to taxi just down Bravo, down to 25 right for our departure. And since we asked for the pushback, let's go back in and we'll make sure that we've turned the parking brake off. Should have done that earlier, but we're good. Alright, pushing back. Let's go back to our pushback. Let's steer right. It looks like it might be correct. Let's see how good of a job we can do on the pushback here. Probably on the line, so push back straight. Alright, we'll stop the push back. He's going to start disconnecting. They would have told us we're clear to start engines. At this point, I'm going to check that we've got thing running, we've got our air, we've got good pressure. We're going to select our engine start. Start number 1, and we would monitor the engine start here. Helps to have some bleed air. We would be timing the engines, all that good stuff. Drinking our coffee, looking around us, reviewing our taxi route. Should be just straight ahead, left turn all the way down to the end. .45-ish, the starter valve should cut out. Start the second engine, or differently on this one. There, the starter is disengaged, so we're clear to start number 2. Probably also at this point turn on a couple other lights here. Oops. Get ready to taxi, so I'll turn those on. And we have some sunrise coming up here out of Vegas. So back to the engines, we have a good start on 1, waiting for the start to finish on 2. I'm going to put it on the perf page so I can see some settings here. Alright, starters disengaged from both. We have a good start on both engines. Looks good. Make sure we have a wave off from the ground, guys. Take our starter there. We're going to arm our speed brakes, reset the trim, set the flaps to 1, and then we're going to set our trim 1.4 on the outside. And here's a trick: when you move your stick, you'll get the flight control on the lower ECAM page, and you can see your trim 1.4, and that's what I'm looking at to match up with 1.4 up here. You can roughly set it with the numbers here. Here's the little tick mark that you're looking for. Alright, so our checklists look complete, right and left. Of course, we would have had the parking brake set, so now we would call for taxi ground, American 769 taxi with Kilo, with Romeo. Taxi with Romeo. And they would say you're cleared to taxi. They would give us our clearance again. Remember we said we're expecting to taxi just straight ahead, come out probably C9, which is just ahead and left, and we'll just go down Bravo to the end. We are connected to Vatsim, but nobody's controlling in this area, so we're on our own. Alright, let's taxi this bad boy. Alright, brakes released, pressure 0, we're clear right and left. So we'll taxi along a little. I think about 95% of the time the taxiing is done with the tiller, not the rudder pedals. A couple things we forgot. And there's a couple vehicles running around our way. And one thing is very handy on your taxi diagram, if you have a second monitor, keep that up there so you can see exactly where you are on the taxi diagram. Alright, so at this point I'm just going to hit freeze for a second because there's a couple things I need to do. We would check our flight controls, so we would do full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral. We both check them. I would check them again. I would come over here, hit the brakes max, hit my takeoff config, come down here and turn on the radar and the predictive wind shear. Oh yeah, we would have made sure the seatbelt sign was on and make a little announcement, let them know where we are. So we've got takeoff no blue here. That's everything's set. Just keep a monitor of our taxi speed as we head down. So yeah, if you're new to the Airbus, you can see there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm going to run over some vehicles. A forklift, and a fuel truck, just hanging out on the taxiway. But a lot of stuff going on the bus to get things going properly and get things all set up for departing. just to show you how handy that is again, you can see us taxiing down here on Charlie. We're going to come all the way down here to the end. So we start keeping an eye on outside. Looking at final, see what's going on. I don't have my rudder pedals yet, so I'm using this tiller, which is actually a forward-aft switch on my HOTUS, so that's a little bit of a challenge to taxi correctly. Alright, here is the end of the runway. So slow it down. There's our hold short anyway. We'll kind of come forward here. We'll make a little bit of a right turn, but we'll make sure we stay short. Load the runway. Put our parking brake on. And we'd be waiting for tower. Go ahead and switch over if we didn't already, which we didn't. So there's our tower. And give them a call, let them know we're ready for departure. Once we're ready, sorry, bouncing around a little. We'll set our strobes, wings, lights, turn off. They're on. Yeah, the lights are all on. Thing. We would go ahead and shut the APU down. And let's say we call them Tower American 769 is ready for departure. They would say, okay, depart RNAV to whatever that first point. Clear to depart 25 right. RNAV to Docker. Clear for takeoff. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this thing airborne. Put the brakes off. Give it just a little bit of power, get us moving. Double check final, make sure we're on the correct runway that we're cleared for takeoff on. Oops, brakes were a little touchy there. It's 50-50, sometimes you take it on the roll, sometimes you get it all nice and straight. Hand it off to the co-pilot. Alright, looks like we're rolling fairly straight. We're ready to go. Alright, power's going to come up. Usually look to kind of line up that gap with the T there. Power is stable. Make sure we're going down the runway right. Alright, power's coming up. Climb, detent. Flex detent. We want to rotate. About 15 degrees. Controls are a little sensitive here. Positive rate. Gear up. High there. Oh, I'll get that. Alright, there's our lever climb. So we're going to pull Power back to climb. Auto thrust is already engaged, so that should stay. And we're going to go ahead and put the autopilot on. Actually, it's going to make a bit to the right. I don't know why it does this on this departure. We'll let it do it. There we go. Autopilot's on. Getting on that course there. Accelerating, speed's good, flaps are coming up. Alright, we're on our way. Not the smoothest departure or takeoff, but head is our load in here. Yeah, these were off from what we had in our calculations, I believe. That's alright. Here's one thing that's kind of annoying. This nobody turns off, so this would still be on. This would be on number 2 if I was flying, but okay. Part of my flow, which I didn't look at. And of course tower would hand us to departure. We'd be talking to departure on Vatsim somewhere here. Passing 10,000, the airplane should speed up. So our managed speed has moved up, that's good. We would clean up anything that we had put in here. If we had put a hard tuned any nav aids or any fix info. Copy over the secondary as well. And today is going to be a flight right into the sun. How bad is that? Just to comply with the SID, they might say only go to flight level 190. See kegs between 13 and 9, we were definitely over 10,000 by Clipper, and then they would clear us on up to whatever we wanted to do. Traffic was light, they might say you're cleared on up to 350. Take a look around. us outbound across kegs and then onward. And I believe once you close that, yep, there's our nav chart. This is a high en route chart. It just shows our mizzen and then our arrival. Standard, 2018. Start zooming out a little. You can see that our level off is going to be just part of Orca. One thing I do have to check on when I get somewhere where the Vatsim is actually has someone controlling is that the voice of Vatsim comes across the Twitch stream. It wasn't last night, so I have to play around with my settings to make sure I'm pulling in the desktop speaker volume. Get all the audio and not just Flight Simulator's audio. Yeah, it'll be pretty neat when they get all the things working in this iPad on the plane. So if you could have your charts right here on the plane, that's pretty handy. That's the way we actually do it. But I don't know that this does a whole lot. Have a view to that. So that's kind of cool. It does show us on the map here. Neat. Of course, my zoom button is the same. Yeah, very cool. Sun coming up out there, it would be so bright in here right now. I'd be pulling these shades up, I'd be trying to cover my eyes, I'd be trying to stay in the dark. A little bouncy, passing 300 here for 35. See, we're still going out the departure. They'd probably be giving us directs down the road. Who knows? Let's see. Let's see what happens if we go direct to mizzen. Let's say they gave it to us. Let's say they gave us direct mizzen. You're gonna hit the direct key. You're gonna hit mizzen, and I did notice that this doesn't really default to where you currently are necessarily, or maybe it does. Didn't seem like it the other night. But there's direct mizzen. Map looks right, this looks right. Top 2 waypoint looks correct, and we're still nabbing. And accelerating. So at this point, Airbus acceleration, handling the climb poorly. There shouldn't be a problem, it's just alright. Let's go look at what we had here. We had this ATIS here. Discard that one. I'm actually going to come in here and get a, that's funny when it's bouncing around. Go ahead and get a new updated ATIS for arrival into Vegas. Send that. Company message. Information Zulu, so yeah, Yankee is old, so we'll get Zulu here. Visual approach is in use, landing runways 26 left. That's what we're doing. Winds. 330 at 11, gust to 22, 6 degrees. We got our new ATIS, that's good. 3-4 for 3-5. $193 out, we need to start doing some stuff. We're leveled off at 350. We need to start getting things ready for our approach. So we've got the ATIS here. We're going to go ahead and look at our flight plan. We've got the 26 left, we had already done that. Any radios we needed to tune, progress we would check depending on the type of approach we're doing. We're going to come in here to our approach phase. From our ATIS, we've got 3036. 6 degrees. And the winds were 330 at 11. Just always use the steady state wind there. I'm just going to put 200 here for the ILS because this seems different than everything else because it doesn't seem to take the ILS decision. Altitude is 2269, decision height is 200. So we'll leave it at that. So that's our approach. Copy that to our secondary. We'll probably do a little bit more. We'd also get some real landing data. We'll get our auto brakes on. Select ILS on both sides. Briefing. Here's looking at our charts. We've got our nav arrival. We've got some altitudes. So mizzen is 240. We might be a little bit difficult to make. Let's see. Let's see if we can make 240 mizzen. let's just go ahead and start down. We'd get clearance to go down. We're going to do an open descent down. $10,000 feet. 40 miles. 3 minutes. About 3,000 foot per minute down-ish. We'll see if we can make it. Alright, so we did a little box work. Our gross weight's good. We've got our brakes. We hit our ILSs. It's not a flaps 3 approach. We have a company message, which was, let's see what that is. I think that was the same ILS. Or, I mean, ATIS. Yeah, it just didn't clear. Make sure it wasn't one I missed here. Keep an eye on our descent. We've got 6,000 feet. Mizzen is going to be at 14:57. That's 6 minutes, so we're doing good. If you're just joining, I appreciate you watching. We're just flying from LA to Vegas, doing a little Airbus 320 work today. Playing around. We're going to use Vatsim, but nobody's controlling out there. But we used Simbrief to load up the flight plan and get everything going. Welcome to the room. See how fast I was there. Pot said, "Hey, Coast." Nice. So we're in a descent, getting down to 240 for Mizzen, and then we'll just fly manually. Well, we'll just manually manage the descents. It doesn't seem like the altitude constraints were working the other day. If I just left it in a managed descent, it went all the way to the bottom. So if I got a descent via on this arrival, I would dial in 8,000 feet as my altitude. I'd select manage descent, and the computer should manage it all the way down. We'll try it again today. It gets tight on a mountain there. It gets tight on this mountain right around here, but it clears it at 8,000. Wouldn't want to do that in real life. Alright, 240, 25 for 240, it should start leveling off here. That's nice, it's doing what we expect. So we did our box work, we looked at all our arrival. The only weird thing is this chips point is not really in there, it's just a big turn back in through poker. Most likely you would get direct to some point out there, and you maybe direct preno at some point. Looking at an ILS to 26 left, here's the chart. You'd brief it. Here's Prenos and IAF, we're coming right over top of that. Prenos at 8,000 mandatory, that's for the terrain out here. So we'll stay at 8,000, that's the bottom altitude for the whole arrival until we get to Preno, then we'll just play these out. We'll probably go down to like 4,000 and then capture the ILS. Got 200 as a decision height, 2269 is a decision altitude. And let's take a look here. Feel free to follow if you haven't already. I would appreciate it. I'm new on Twitch, so this is kind of fun for me, just learning some of the technology, playing with the Vatsim, XSplit for broadcasting, all that good stuff. If you have any questions about the bus, feel free to ask. still says I have a company message, but there's not. It just didn't clear for some reason. I wonder if it has anything to do with which side I'm on. Just go through all of them. I know it had cleared early on, and then when I requested that updated weather for Vegas, it popped up with the ATIS message, and it didn't clear then. Alright, let's see where we are here. We are approaching Mizzen at 240. Right here on the chart. Not to scale, so it's not going to show up with the navigation, the moving map on here until we get out of this box. That's a dotted line box. And then the rest of this area is to scale, so we should show ourselves there. Looks like our next altitude is 13,000 feet. We're probably starting to contact approach. But we're going to try managed. Well, we'll dial in 13,000 to begin with, and then we'll go managed. We're in managed speed, so it should slow down and adhere to our speed restrictions of 230, 230, 210 around. We'll see if it does. We'll see what it does. If we need to save the day at the end, we'll save the day as required. There's Mizzen. Let's go managed. So we've got 13,000. Now it's starting its descent. Some really cool scenery around here going into Vegas. Just so you know, this little icon here means that's where it thinks we would need to start our descent to make it to 13 by Claire. So we started down way early, and if we're in managed, it really should not be going down this fast. We should be at 1,000 foot per minute with a little squiggly line where we would intercept our idle descent, but it's not doing that. So one little weird thing. I'm just going to leave it in managed anyway, even if we descend a little early. That's fine. Take a look outside. We got some beautiful mountains. Beautiful day out west. A little haze in the morning. We're all briefed and boxes all set up. We're headed down below transition, so we know the altimeter from the ATIS. We would use that 3036. .36 is set. 13, set it a little early. We run our approach check through to the end. I'm sure we would have let our passengers up to. We would have done some light work earlier, but I'm not a captain, so I don't touch these. But let's set them up right for now. finally I found my button. I haven't looked at the overhead in a while, obviously. Didn't turn some things on or off the right way, but heck, why not? Probably rip the lights off. Whatever. I'm not fiddling with the button. Alright, let's see where we're at. 16 for 13. So we get closer, we're going to range in on our rings. Manage looks like it's doing an okay job. 2,000 to go in 27 miles, plenty. And then looking at the arrival, let's see, that's Claire that we're going to. Claire, 13,000. Stay at 13,000 through Skiber, Keypack. 250 should be the speed. There should be a slowdown prior to Claire. We'll see what happens. And what came in the box, it looks like it says 230, but that would be not the same as this, but whatever. 230 at Ipumi. Keep that, get that down to 11. So 11 will be, we're actually going to put 8,000. So let's say they said, okay, you're cleared to descend via, okay, the arrival, 8,000 feet, and managed. Idle descent, 8,000 selected. Now, we should be seeing an altitude constraint get honored at these points. I don't think it will in the sim, but we're going to let it descend because it's pretty cool looking as we go around the mountains real low. Welcome to the stream, doing LA to Vegas, just flying the bus, Vatsim, Simbrief, all that good stuff we got out of the gate. Okay. Yeah, nobody is controlling on Vatsim. Vatsim Spy is a good little tool to see if anybody's out there controlling, and I should probably check in. I am on the Vatsim network. So it'd be good to look and see if anyone is actually controlling Vegas, and it doesn't look like it. There would be some circles, there'd be some towers, some ATIS, but you can see there we are. American 769 going to Vegas. So there's still no controllers there to talk to, but we are on the Vatsim network. If you got any questions about the bus, feel free to ask. One thing I don't think I mentioned on this one early on, getting the Simbrief to come in correctly, make sure you don't specify departure, don't specify an arrival airport in Flight Sim when you spawn in, just set your departure point. Alright, you see it's blown through all the altitude restrictions and constraints that should be there. But it's going to go all the way down to 8,000, which makes a very scenic entry into Vegas. You can see there's the radar's picking up the terrain. Actually, that's the terrain on my side, radar on that side, so that's the mountain we're going to go right around here, which is pretty cool at 8,000 feet. I wanted to see if this thing's going to follow the speed constraints as well. We're in managed speed. It should be. It should have a little decel point here to slow it down to 230. I don't see that. We'll just keep an eye on the speed, see what happens there. There's some mountains, some hills, the hills of Vegas. I think out here somewhere, maybe right over in this area, are those solar collectors. They're really, really bright during the day. Big set of mirrors that shine onto something, heating it up, making energy. Pretty cool. You can see them for 100 miles if it's clear out. Alright, yeah, we're not slowing down. We're 5 miles. Doesn't look like it's going to slow on. So I'm going to let it go to that point. American, please call this number. Say speed. I'm going to see if it slows down on its own. I don't think it's going to at this point. Maybe it'll surprise me. Yeah, nice little hour flight in here. That's a very comfortable flight on the bus. Climb up. You don't spend a lot of time just droning along. You start doing everything to head back into wherever your destination is. My stream, please feel free to follow. I'm new to streaming, so I would appreciate it. Alright, so we passed that point. It did not slow down, so we're going to go ahead and slow things down here. 230, we'll just manage our own speeds. How about that? Pull our chart back down, see where we are. We're in here, headed to Skiber. 13 still is where we should be, but the managed descent didn't work, so we're going to leave it at 8,000 as we come around this mountain here at KPEC, which is pretty cool. So we're at 8,000 now, so our speed at Itumi, we're going to make sure we're at 230. Actually, 250 was the speed at Claire. In the box, the speed at Claire was 230, which was different, but it didn't follow the speed anyway. A lot of inconsistencies. It's okay. It's a simulator. That's why I'm doing this from the living room, not in the plane. So I'd be at 250 here until I got to 230. Which is fun. See if I can sit up a little higher, a little better look at the scenery. Yeah, I'm running it on full ultra everything, live weather, live traffic. It was dark when we pushed back. Sun came up a little. We are all set for our arrival, and we're just going to blow around this mountain nice and low. Yeah, I think I need to put a widget or whatever, that Streamlabs or something on here so I can see the chat or chat users on the stream. That would be kind of handy. I have them above me, but I look up to the stream up there, so if I missed you joining, I'm sorry. But welcome. should also set up polls. Do you think we're going to miss this mountain? Yes or no? We've got a pretty good turn here, a 90-degree turn. And we have a mountain right here off to the right at 8,000 feet. So if you think we're going to miss the mountain, say yes. If you think we're going to hit it, say yes. We'll do one of the above. But really cool looking coming in here. Of course, too low. We should be at 13,000, but it looks really cool here at 8. Pretty low on this ridge line here. Definitely below this ridge line here. Let's see what she does. Oh, there's our turn starting. Looks like we're gonna go right inside the edge of this ridge line, maybe a little bit inside, yeah. Come up this little valley. Radar altimeter is telling us we're 2,500 feet above the valley. Well, look at that, 8,000 feet we were able to clear around, it looks like, the side of this mountain. Alright, back to what we're doing. Let's see here. We got Impuni at 210 and 11. We're at 8 already, but 210, we'll go ahead and start slowing her down. Look at our speed. We're below our first flap notch, so we're going to go ahead and put the flaps to 1. That'll help keep us a good, stable aircraft here. Alright, 210 is on the speed. We're going to be headed out to 9,000, 8,000 all the way around to the ILS. So that is set up and programmed in the box. Yep, we made it past that mountain over there. Need to use this a little bit more, but you can see that mountain. Cruised by. Out in the distance you can see Vegas is out there. Some beautiful terrain. Louder outside the plane for sure. There's our 210 and 11, we're good. Next restrictions are 170. There is nothing wrong with slowing down a little bit early. You'd rather be a little ahead than behind. Not so far ahead that you're mucking up all the traffic, but sunrise in Vegas, dropping off all these casino goers. You can see the strip out there, looks pretty cool. Here's the field. welcome to Las Vegas. Alright, where are we at here? Cruising along. Everything is hooked up, there's no discons here, so should take us all the way in on from the arrival, connected right to the approach. We'll stay at 8,000 until we get turned back in towards Perino. View of the field. They are landed on 26 left, so we are in the right place. Another airfield further out there, you can see. The Air Force Base. At our arrival, we're going to go ahead and switch over our plate here, check our approach. Perino 8,000 is mandatory. We know we are coming in out here. You can now see us on the moving map coming straight out this way. We'll make a big turn back into Perino, then we'll descend. We'll just clear ourselves to like we'll clear ourselves to 4,000 feet, and then hit and clear for the approach. How about that? Still no controllers in the Vatsim to worry about. If there were, you would want to be talking to them, otherwise they might be booting you out if even if someone just popped up as a controller and you didn't know it. They might start asking you some questions. So we've slowed down. We're doing 190 as per the last restrictions that we had in here. Sorry, 170 on the speed. I haven't put the other notch to flaps 2 just because I didn't want to burn the gas. And I don't even know where our green dot is, but I'm doing okay there. But we can certainly go to flaps 2 here. Oh, that was interesting. What did it do? Maybe I cycled something? It seems like it's going direct to Perino. Let's change that back. We just screwed something up, but let's go to Kimmy. I think I scrolled something and it changed something in the flight plan. I don't like the 2 lines there. That doesn't look very good. But it is what it is right now. Let's see if it cycles correctly. If it sequences, probably the proper terminology. So the airfield is back there behind us. Headed out to the east, do this little turnaround, full approach. So this would be when it would activate the approach phase. We would probably want to go ahead and do that. Could let it do it itself, but we can also just do it ourselves here. We're already in approach phase anyway. So maybe that's what it did when it freaked out. Here's where I think it's a little wacky with the way it loaded. It should have another point out here, chips, but it did this, which does not look the same as the arrival, which had this RNAV arrival to go out to point to point to point, but maybe to make the turn, I don't know. See what it's doing here. I think we'll get a good view of like the Hoover Dam out here somewhere. Yeah, I think right out there is the Hoover Dam. Now it wants to get back onto that point, Kimmy. Oh, no, now it's going to Lair. Whoops. Let's see here. Let's fix something here. Okay, come out of nav. I disengaged you. Interesting how it sequenced that so strangely. Yeah, I thought there was something weird at that Kimmy point. Let's just save the day here. Do it ourselves. It's just a Hoover Dam flight here to see what's going on. So we've cleared the approach, we'll activate that. Actually, I'm not going to do that yet. Don't want it to go turning for the field, which it looked like it wanted to do. Give it just a little bit better turn. I don't know if it'll make the whole turn inbound, so we'll go to the right a little more. Approach would be having a field day with us. So what I'm going to do to fix this down here, I'm just going to go direct to and Perino now. Yeah. Let's see what this will do. Should start making a turn. See how well this works. There's a cool visual of the Hoover Dam. Pretty darn neat. Let's get back in here, see what's happening. said, to Perino, but here's another weird thing. In the box, it goes direct, but it leaves your direct point in there. I'm going to do it again just to take us from here instead of correcting all the way back to that course. You see now it'll give us kind of a 90 to it. So the direct 2 is not really accurate in a turn, but if you do a direct 2 again, then it'll kind of straighten things out. Alright, so now we're going to clear ourselves down to 4,000 feet, like, 4,000 feet like we said. 4,000. Open descent 4,000. Clear it on down. We're 21 miles out. There's Perino. We do have these other altitude restrictions, but the box is not going to manage them correctly, so I'm just doing this myself. Actually, let's make this 6,000, just for the heck of it. Blew through it, come back up to it, it's okay. Making it up as we go a little. Alright, so now we are on a good track on the nav inbound. We're cleared the approach. I'll hit the approach button. That'll arm the localizer, so we should pick up the localizer right now. It's got the glide slope armed, and we will begin down the glide slope once we get that locked on. Like I said, we're just going to stay a little bit higher, 6,000 feet. Start seeing the runway out there, straight ahead of us. View. Lake Mead, I think. $15 miles out. That next altitude is 4,900 feet. Let's just go to 5. Make it easier on everybody. Good. Quick look at the plate. We're on our ILS inbound to Shand. Shand is at 4,900. 5 is fine. We'll go to 4,000 for Reelan, and then we should be seeing our final configuration here pretty soon. 13 miles. I'm not going to put the gear down until we're about 5 miles from the field, from the approach end of it. We're doing 5 for 4, or 6 for 5. Sorry. Beautiful day in Vegas. Everybody's coming in for the weekend. What we'll do is we'll make sure we got our seatbelts on. That should have been on. We'll give them a little call. I don't think that really did it, but what do you know? Interesting, I can't select both autopilots on, but that's what we would normally do. Alright, we're on the glide slope, we're on the localizer, we've already picked that up. Tracking inbound, 10 miles out, speed's fine. I would dial in my missed approach altitude. That looks like I'd be using 7,000 feet, but if I change that, it's going to go climb, which it would not do in the airplane. It would just pre-select it. Inbound on the ILS, I'm going to turn the terrain off, just nice and clear on the map. We're a little bit out, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and start configuring the gear. Gear is down. We're going to give away speed. Speed's good. We're going flaps 3. Speed's good. We're going to go flaps full. Look at our landing checklist. Alright, moment of truth. When I click off this autopilot, let's see if you can actually hand fly this thing, right? Let's see. Right now we got an 8-knot crosswind. It's not much. Again, I don't have my rudder pedals yet, so it's not going to be that pretty. Well, we're coming into Vegas on the ILS. We're cleared to land, or the tower, whatever. Final configuration, all checks for 1,000-foot stable. We've got the runway in sight. We're visual. Come in just a little on my zoom, and I'm going to fly this manually. The autopilot's off. Manually for us means the autopilot's off. The auto thrust is engaged. You can fly without the auto thrust as well. It's a little more challenging, not much, but a little more attention. And the only time you do that occasionally, just for practice, just in case something were to have a failure like that in real life. You'd want to not be too terrible at it. Going slightly drifting above the glide slope, so we're bringing the nose back down. Trying to keep our center line here. Coming back down to the glide slope. I'm looking at there's sort of a difference in here between the raw data and the flight director. I'm not sure why. But flight director is pulling me up higher. The raw data is pulling me lower. The raw data looks more correct, but it's kind of wacky here at the end. And I do know this thing doesn't pull off power correctly, so I'm going to pull power early. I would normally pull it at about 50 feet and crossing the threshold. But I know this thing glides.
50, 40, 30.
Cut the descent rate.
20.
Like I said, this thing does not glide like this on a landing when your power's back. But we'll grease it on here.
10. 5. 5.
There we go. Find my switches for my brakes. I do have reverse set up, so I've got my brakes. Come back out of reverse. And boom, we made it. We're on the ground. Nice. Welcome to Vegas. We're gonna assume they said cleared to cross 26 right at Alpha 7, taxi via Alpha 7, Bravo, Charlie 6 to the gate. So we want to take a look down the runway. We're cleared to cross, cleared to cross. Do a couple little things, hit my clock. Flow items after we cross. Slow this KLAS is in flight director. This is Bravo right here to the right. We're going a little fast. We'll finish up my flow here. Alright. It's nice and cool here. That's off. It's off. Still taxiing good. Slow down a little more. Turn the radar off. Get the APU going. And we're going to go down to Charlie 6, which is down into the D gates. Just because, why not? We'd probably do some lights or something here. Yeah, we're taxiing. Let's leave that there. Lights will turn off. And in case you ever wanted to know, if you're taxiing fast all the time, you may want to just do a single engine taxi. To do that, turn on your Y electric pump here, and then shut down number 2. Now it will get under control for you much better. You won't have to constantly be riding the brakes. Once again, this is where the having the moving map display works real well. You can see we've got Charlie 6s here. It's usually an outer flow around Vegas. That's B4. We should be at C6 up here. Looks like C6, yep. And of course we'd be talking to our ops, talking to our ground, making sure our gate is open and clear. I'm just going to go straight in here, and we're going to go park right next to, we're just going to pick one of these gates here that's open, in between some other planes, why not? We're going to go to that gate. Get a little overhead shot of that. Looks like that's a straight in gate. Where we are. Slow it down a little. I think when you do slow down with the single engine taxi, you may come to a stop, and it'll take a little more power to get you moving again. Let's see if we're on the center line or close. Pull it up just a little more, slow down, and come to a stop. Let's take a look at where we are. Oh, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Alright, so we have the APU going, we'll get some bleeds, we can shut down the engine. Let's shut down number 1. That's, oh, let's continue. Did all that for us, didn't it? Let's request the, so we gotta turn into Vegas ground, I think, first to get those options. Let's request the jet bridge. Yeah, cool. Welcome to Vegas. Let's get your bags off. Let's get catering for the next flight. Let's go back inside, see if there's anything we want to do here. We would be turning everything off. The lights and all that are coming off. We do some reports. ask them if they want us to leave it running. We'd make sure that we turned off all the lights. As I said, I'm not the light person, so I leave them for the captain to do. Alright, well, if you were on the stream and enjoyed it, please give me a follow. Like I said, I'm fairly new to the streaming, so appreciate any follows out there. I'll try to do a few more of these different flights, different tips and techniques, and I'm learning the Flight Sim 2020 at the same time, so I'll screw things up here and there. But enjoyed, have a great rest of your day, and welcome to Vegas.